there, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Storytime with the Scariest Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, this is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And this week, we're here to read you folks some homegrown horror. Homegrown horror is... Homegrown horror is...
the stories that you wonderful listeners and viewers have sent our way of things that have happened to you, a friend, a family member, and it can be stuff that's true crime, paranormal, supernatural, extraterrestrial in nature, any of those creepy or really scary coincidences that happen out there too that turn out to not be like too bad. Sometimes it's like, oh my god, I thought it was a ghost. Turns out it was just someone in my house that I knew was there that I forgot about. Stuff like that is always the stuff that we read for Homegrown Horrors. And if someone had a story like that, Robin, where could they send it?
You can send it to our email, storytime@scariest.com, but you can also contact us on our website. We have a website. It's called scariest.com. There's a contact us page, and you just fill out all that fun stuff, and it gets to us that way. If you're not a big email person or you don't want to go to our website, that's fine. We have social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff.
Indeed. So we're going to be reading 4 of those tonight. Pretty excited to do so. We're going to go ahead and jump in. I'm going to be reading the first one, so strap on, folks. It's going to be a really good time. This first one's subject is story time. Feel free to use on the podcast. And that is exactly how the best way, just the best way you can put a subject on these things. That way we know we can go ahead and use it.
Okay, go on.
Starts out like this. Hi, guys. Hello. I guess Robin's not saying hello this episode. So.
Hello.
I'm a new listener, and I absolutely love your podcast. Thank you. I haven't had many creepy experiences, but this was terrifying to me. It was so long ago, and it still gives me the shivers. I was about 8 years old, and my family was exploring our city a bit. It's funny how you can remember things so vividly from your childhood, no matter how old you get, but then, like, I can barely remember anything from my teenage years and my early 20s, so it's weird how some of those memories just seem to last.
My memories are all, like, I remember all the, traumatizing stuff. Not necessarily all the fun stuff. It's more, like...
the bad things.
High school was awful.
It's just easier to remember the things that made you feel horrible.
Yeah.
It really is. All right, so let's read about this thing that made this person feel horrible. They're exploring their city. One spot we were visiting was this historical town that had a bunch of fun things to do, like making candles, a blacksmith shop, and a bunch of cool restaurants. And there was also this mansion at the center of town, and it was known as the Whaley House. We've covered the Whaley House in the past.
Yes, we
have. I actually brought it up today as an example of a location I would love to visit if we ever got a TV show. During the 1800s, the house had many purposes, the main one being a court. And the chilling thing was, the tree in the backyard was used to hang the convicted. Just beyond the house was the graveyard where they would bury criminals.
I think that's super terrifying that they would convict someone in the building, then right behind the house, they're like, oh, there's a tree there, might as well just murder people.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and pass your sentence right now. It goes on to say, anyways, like they knew we were going to tangent. My dad told me and my brother the house was said to be haunted. I didn't believe him, but we continued on to the Whaley House. My brother, who was like 6 at the time, was getting some bad vibes from the place. It's because you told him it was haunted first. Like, wait to see if your kid gets bad vibes and then tell them it's haunted to just ruin their life versus like scaring them beforehand because then they're just going to be scared no matter what. Okay. He was in tears and refusing to go in. But my parents had paid for tickets, and eventually he gave in. It's like, we paid for these goddamn tickets. We're going inside. I totally understand that. The house was huge and very old-fashioned. I remember the tour guide said that the daughter had committed suicide in one of the rooms, and that a murderer had been convicted and executed there, and that on the night shift at the Whaley House, odd noises were heard, such as footsteps and voices.
I would just expect that to happen at a courthouse that had the freaking not guillotine, what is it called? The
execution place?
Well,
the gallows?
The gallows right in the back. Like, how nuts is that?
If I was a judge, I'd be like, we're going to take you to the execution place now, because I don't know the name for gallows. So, yeah, that would be really
imagine
really
being
terrifying.
The judge and being like, what's that thing called again? Oh, yeah. The execution place. Like, yeah, let's just take them back there.
Yeah, and then someone's just like, gallows, and the murderer's like, shut the fuck up. You ruined it. It's like, it's legal. If you can't say where I'm supposed to go, you can't execute me. I think that's in the law. Anyways, let's keep going. I was obsessed with scary stories at a young age, so I would call out for members of the Whaley family and their pets as I wandered the house.
No.
You were a ballsy 8-year-old. Yeah. This made my mom very uncomfortable. We took photos as we wandered around, and then we went home. That night, as my mom was going through pics that we took, suddenly she got very scared. She showed a picture of me and my brother smiling at the front of the courtroom, but right behind us was this misty, tall figure. As we looked close, it appeared to be a man with piercing eyes. I almost said with piercings in his eyes, which would be way more terrifying. He looked
How
like
would
he
you
was
even?
staring directly at the camera. There was another picture my mom had taken of the dining room. Under the table, there was a small, misty figure that resembled a cat. In the next picture, the figure had moved and started to peek out from under the table.
That's some Harry Potter stuff right there.
That freaked the crap out of me and my brother, and that night I remember not sleeping at all. My mom deleted the photos from her camera, and we still can't really explain what happened that day. Anyways, the end. Love your podcast. Keep on creeping on, Hamster Queen.
Thank you. That is also an adorable name.
Yeah. Solid alias.
Yeah, I think haunted places just freak me out, but bringing kids into these things and then having them just creep you even worse.
Well, if you tell your kid before you go into someplace like this place is haunted, they're going to be scared and not want to go in, you know?
Yeah.
If your kid goes in there and they're like, I don't feel good in this place, then you know the place is actually probably haunted. So, it sounds like too that the pictures that were taken were on a phone or on like a digital camera or something like that. Never delete those things. Save them for when you tell the story eventually so you can prove that you're not lying. Because so many people out there are like, if I don't have evidence, I'm just not going to believe it.
I wish I had pictures from when I was younger, like in high school and stuff like that, when I would go out and do stuff. I wish I had all those pictures still. But technology is difficult when you have digital photos because if you lose your hard drive or if your hard drive breaks, those are gone forever.
Unless you have the cloud, which lots of folks have stuff backed up to the cloud nowadays. So.
Nowadays. But back then, you had like, not Archangel, what's it called? That photo website where you just uploaded all your photos to it. Photo Bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a porn website besides Pornhub, but I was like, I can't. My brain's not working.
Cum Bucket. Okay, no.
Wow. Jesus Christ. All right, we're going to go ahead and say thank you for sending that in one last time.
All right. So the subject for this next email is whack shit from Ven.
Nice.
So it goes. Hi, Robin. Hi, Adam. Hello.
Hello.
Long-time listener, first-time caller / writer.
Thanks, listener. It's so good to hear from you.
Is that the thing that lady actually says?
No, it's just like when you call into a show, it's like, long-time listener, first-time caller. It's like, thanks, caller. So good to hear from you.
I've never heard that before, but okay. My name is Ben, and I've been listening for a while. Your guys' back and forth and the way you break down information is easy for me to follow and really nice. Thank you. I'm glad you don't mind how many tangents that we take half the time. I like to listen along when I'm drawing, nice, walking to school, or doing chores, whatever. I do all those things, so I'm totally on that bus with you.
Except for chores.
What?
I'm kidding. I was hoping she wouldn't strike me.
Did you do a load of laundry like I asked you today?
Yeah, I did a fucking load of laundry and the dishes and worked because I work from home while being a house boyfriend or whatever it's called.
I know a lot of my stories are probably straight up mental illness. I've been diagnosed with PTSD since I was basically a toddler, and with all the other junk that entails, I go through a lot of unreality, disassociation, etc. Derealization makes it really hard for me to feel grounded or like a human person. But other people's story times and the stories you guys share make me feel a little more real.
Good.
A little less clinically insane all the time. I can't thank you enough for that. I can start by giving you some of my own stories.
Hell yeah.
But again, I myself take them with a grain of salt. I don't think any of this was paranormal. Still, scary-ish. So, I'll start with a story that for the most part is based in what I know to be real. It's kind of long, so I'm sorry. Double sorry, because Robin, warning you, this one's basement focused.
Didn't know that when I sent it to her, but I am very happy that I did send it to her.
The block I live on has a lot of shoebox houses, the ones that are really new and shiny and meant to be modern. The house my family rents is not that, since we're poor and are technically living here through a legal loophole. This house has been around since at least the 50s, and our landlord did a pretty shitty job of renovating it throughout the ages. So all of our pipes are fucked up and most of the doors, faucets, and lights are finicky at best. My room is in the back of the house and it's not actually meant to be a bedroom. There's kitchen tiles on the ground, a sealed up back door right by my bed, and another sealed off ceiling square at the foot of my bed that was a ladder to the attic. But worse than all that, I'm right next to the laundry room, which is built on top of our basement. There's not a proper door leading into it. The walkway is just too small, so the floor was cut into, and the only way to open up the basement was by this rope we looped from a railing on the wall through a hole in the cut section of door that yanked it open. What?
So you basically made a pulley system to make a makeshift door into your basement.
You had to haul major ass for it to work because, yeah, you were lifting an entire section of floor off the ground with just a rope. I don't know how well the picture I took reads, but I'm too lazy to actually move shit out of the way, and I'm not opening that fucking door willingly if I don't have to. But here it is. Whew.
Did you just get scared?
I thought that. Look at this. What is this? It's kind of scary. But it just looks like you can see the cut in the floor and what you'd have to cut up to actually go down there.
Yeah.
No.
It's a hard pass for me, dog.
It's a definitely hard pass for me. Only one person can really stand there at a time. It's very cramped, but laundry needs to get done, so I just have to kind of suck up standing on top of the basement. Otherwise, my mom would, actually beat me to death.
Wow.
When you walk down, you have to duck because the stairs are pretty claustrophobic. There's only, 10, and otherwise, you would hit your head. When the light underneath is off, it looks like a portal to the fucking underworld or some shit. The basement itself is barely tall enough for my 5'7" self to stand in, but it's not very wide either. The space is even smaller than my room. It's just like a concrete box of death with the boiler in the center and nothing else except for cobwebs and the ceiling made out of open pipes. It's always been creepy.
That doesn't
sound like a basement.
Yeah,
it sounds like a hole in your floor.
It sounds like what was supposed to be a basement, but it's really just sort of I don't know, it's like a crawl space that's deep that actually has a boiler in it.
Oh my gosh. The reason I hate it so much didn't start there, though. It was the fly infestation. Oh, just screams demons or dead body. A few years back, the side of our house had a barely noticeable opening or some shit, and during the winter, the bugs made their way in. And then, because of the basement quote-unquote door, they were trapped there. None of us had any reason to go down into the basement for a while. We didn't store important stuff down there because it was fucking creepy. So we didn't know until there were literally hundreds of flies making a nest under us. Eventually, I think someone had to check on the boiler, so we cleared off the laundry baskets on top of the door and pulled on the stupid rope. The flies swarmed us immediately. They clung to the air everywhere. You had to close your mouth or they would fly in. When you climbed down the stairs, there was a coat of dead ones on the ground and another larger swarm circling the open air. I don't know how to describe it, but the worst thing about it was the way they moved. Not in sync. Flies are stupid, but it was weirdly uniform in their fly patterns. I have a severe aversion to bugs, mostly spiders because of arachnophobia. And this made it so much worse. It's like that movie Arachnophobia where they're in the bathroom and all the spiders are coming down from the windows and the door.
Except they're flies.
Except they're flies. I don't remember what I was thinking, but I remember I was shaking because it freaked me out so much. But I had to stay there in the basement and sort it out. Otherwise, I was going to get in trouble because this was going to get our mom in trouble with the landlord. Me and my siblings sat there for hours waiting them up and out of the house since we couldn't afford pest control. The night we cleared them out, I had a nightmare that, really broke me. The dream went like this. I couldn't see anything, even with my eyes wide open. I was walking and I knew in the back of my head I was trying to go somewhere, but I couldn't remember where I was needed to go. So I kept walking, and there were steps, and I was going down and down and down, but it never clicked where I was going. Everything was buzzing, but it was all really quiet until it was actual full-on buzzing suddenly directly in my ears. That's probably how it sounded when all the flies were swarming up out of that hole and around. And that when a fly or a bee or something buzzes past my ear, it freaks me out.
I can already hear Robin getting triggered.
Ugh. And as I realized the pure darkness was the swarm, I woke up. I just sat there on my bed for a while. I didn't want to be in front of the door for even a second, and my only exit door opens up into the laundry room. But anyways, I still live here, and I still do laundry on top of it every other day, with recurring nightmares similar to that one to boot. I hate bugs, and I hate basements. They are all real B words.
That's funny.
I don't know how scary this actually is to anyone outside of the situation, but hopefully it's at least readable/understandable. This is already too long, so I'll save some other stories for a different time. Thank you for listening, and thank you for making this pod again. It's like the ultimate comfy in the very limited way a parasocial relationship works. I love you guys and hope you're doing well. Then, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Yeah, oh man,
I can guarantee you a lot of people found that story scary. The picture alone is pretty creepy, But the idea of going into your basement and just having a swarm of fucking flies pour out of it.
It just makes me think of there's a dead body because...
Even a dead body doesn't cause a swarm, you know?
I don't know. It just reminds me of that scene in Angels and Demons. And I just say Angels and Demons because we just had a topic that I mentioned that a lot. But where the priest is down there and they had him, they filled his mouth up with dirt or whatever.
Right.
And they go down there and it's just a bunch of flies and rats and stuff like that. That's what I'm just like.
Stop covering your mouth. This is a podcast.
I know.
I know you're trying to prevent yourself from vomiting. But still,
it's just so gross and creepy and I can't.
Honestly, what I was picturing is more or less the scene from Constantine. When he's fighting the insect / like seafood. I don't know.
Oh, I was thinking...
It's the demon that comes out and attacks him in the open and it gets hit by the truck in the very beginning of the movie.
I was thinking the bowling alley. When they go to the bowling alley.
Oh, yeah.
And the bowling alley
fuck. I didn't even think of that.
Filled with flies.
Yeah, so, yeah, this is definitely scary.
Yeah, it's... nope. Bugs are big ol' nope. And basements... big ol' nope.
We hope you go onward and upward to better places and better things in the near future, but hang in there. And thank you very much for sending that in. So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move into my second story of the show, and this one's subject is My Fear List Can Share on Podcast. 1, it's always great when we get feedback from a topic, and 2, it's always great when Can Share on Podcast is in the subject. So if you don't know, a few episodes ago had a phobia, our top 5 phobias. I think it was top 5, right?
Yeah.
Top 5 phobias that we have, and we shared them, and we said, if you have them, go ahead and let us know. This is the second or third time someone has reached out and let us know what their phobias are. So, as weird as it is to say, I can't wait to hear what scares you. It starts like this. Hello.
Don't use it against us.
Hello, Robin, Adam, Spooky Mom, and Spooky Friends, wherever you are.
All over the world. It's nuts.
Hello. I say hello. She says hello. And everyone else out there yells hello right now.
Hello.
My name is Abby.
It's the Beatles song. I don't know.
My name is Abby. While listening to your last episode where you two talk about your fears, I started to think of what I'm afraid of. I never think about what I feared the most. I sort of just crumble them under the same level of fear. But after I sort it out one by one, now I know what my biggest fear is. Most of my fear can be called a common fear, but much more specific. So here's my list of fears. 1, fear of heights, or acrophobia. More specifically, a fear of ladders.
So climbing them, I assume?
Probably. I don't mind climbing a ladder. Once I get to a certain point, I get a little bit scared. I fucking hate coming down. Like if I'm on a roof, I am fine on a roof. As soon as I have to come down off the roof and put my foot down on that first rung on the ladder where you're just like blindly putting your foot, I hate that. It gives me so much anxiety. What's up?
No. I'm just
You're just judging me over there.
I'm just thinking of what scares me about ladders. I'm not afraid to climb ladders
Okay, Robin's better than both of us.
No, to a certain point. Like, if it were a ladder that goes up to the roof, I probably would not be able to do that because it's so high. But if it's like the basic bitch, like 8-foot ladder, that's not too scary to climb. But those really high, the ones that don't have the legs on both sides, it's just it's leaned up against the house. It's leaned up against the house because you have to go that high. Big ol' nope.
Yeah. All right. Fear of ladders. I don't know how to explain this in English. In parentheses, English is not my first language. LOL. Well, you're doing pretty good so far.
I was going to say.
I will give you an example. If I were told to climb a tree using a ladder, I'm not afraid of how tall the tree is, but I'm afraid of how sturdy the ladder is.
That's 100%.
I think I'm afraid of it because of my weight. I will say, too, an unsturdy ladder is horrifying to climb. You can get 3 feet off, and all of a sudden, if it starts shaking, you're like, I'm going to fall.
Right.
And I have an uncle who fell off a ladder when I was young, and he got really hurt. And after that, I started being really, really careful around ladders. So I totally understand this one.
My fear is if those ladders that like you push them up and then lock them.
That they'll unlock?
Yes. I've had my dad climb one of those ladders to put in an air conditioning or something on the second story of the building of his house. And the ladder, I think, fell backwards.
Ooh, I wouldn't be able to handle
I
that.
just remember my dad falling, and I was inside the house, and I think my mom ran in, and like, I think I've told the story. She stole one of my shoelaces and a bunch of rags, because my dad had like gouged his whole arm open, was bleeding everywhere, and so she like put the rags and like used my shoelaces to like tie it, to like block the blood.
Very resourceful woman, your mom.
Yeah, those were my Converse too. I was so sad, but
wow.
Shoelaces are replaceable. My father is not.
You have not told this story. This is the first time I've ever heard this
really?
story.
It was, ladders scare me because I'm afraid of horrible accidents. Like I always tell you, I think I'm going to die of a horrible accident. My dad's just had so many. He's fallen off of a roof onto the hood of his car where he had to get the whole hood of the car replaced. Like, yeah. And I feel like I'm just like him.
You figured that would make you be a little bit more careful, but you tend
I'm
to
just
wander
like
blindly into
accident-prone,
situations like, what could go wrong? So, all right, let's keep going. Number 2, fear of closed spaces / claustrophobia. For this one, the term claustrophobia might not be correct because it's literally a closed place. More specifically, I'm afraid of the sound of a closing store where you have to pull down the railing to close it. We used to have to do that at GameStop all the time.
So it's the idea that you're totally locked in.
Yeah, being trapped. It really affects my mood. For example, one day, me and my friends were hanging out at a cafe, and the store beside the cafe was closing down and pulling down the railing, and once I heard the sound of it, the cheerful me turned into a ball of anxiety. Even my friends noticed it. I don't know where this fear came from, because I had never been trapped in a locked down place before. That is really interesting, though.
I can see that fear of
I would get some anxiety
trapped.
if I'm in a store and I hear it's closing and I hear the gate because I'm like, they want me to leave. And I feel bad, but I don't share that particular fear, but I understand it. So
that's more annoying for me. If a store's like closing down and I'm still in it, but they're like locking the front door and they're doing all that stuff. It's them telling you like,
get the fuck out.
And I'm like, just tell me you're closing. Don't beat around the bush.
Don't be a bitch about it. Just say we're closing it out. All right. Number 3.
Starbucks has done that to me before.
Why even Starbucks so late? Jesus.
Well, we were studying and it was like 10 o'clock and they closed at 9:30 or something. And I was like, why didn't you just tell us to leave?
I've done that to customers before. Like I just pulled the gate and they're like, are you closing? It's like, yeah. The hours are on the fucking door you walk through. Yeah, sure. I am closing. You know that.
I always think Starbucks is open till like midnight.
I've also been robbed past closing time because some asshole stayed in the store and I knew he was trying to steal something. And I just stared him down. And I had the gate half pulled, like, you're not going to be able to fucking run out of here. So there's no point in trying to steal anything. And then I was like, okay, cool. He's good. He's leaving. As soon as I walked away, he grabbed an iPad and ran out. And the associate that was taking care of him was just like, I was so scared. And it wasn't like a beautiful woman that was behind it that felt vulnerable. It was just this dude who just decided to put this thing on the counter and back up away from it. He was older than I was. It was just like, he basically volunteered the item to be stolen to get the guy to leave. And it was like, you just got to ask him, like, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store, you know? And he just didn't have that in him, and we wound up losing like $1,000 item. Anyways, number 3, fear of the ocean. Just like Robin, I fear the ocean. I always feel uneasy every time I went to a beach, because my mind will think of something scary that lurks below the scary water. I don't mind a swimming pool, though. Yeah, there's a lot of people I know who say water you can't see the bottom of is what scares them. So my recent topic that I covered regarding that lake, the deepest lake on Earth, yeah, that shit's scary. Scary as fuck, dog.
I'm just afraid of sharks. What if there's a shark that just comes by and chomps a piece of you off? You know, the beach is scary. The ocean is a terrifying place. Or jellyfish. Poisonous jellyfish.
Like amoebas that can float into your ear.
Yep.
Those creep me out. I know multiple people who have relatives who have passed away from having amoebas float into their ears, and they had something happen to them where they're just like, there's nothing we can do. Like, they're going to die.
I was on a banana boat with a bunch of friends before, with Gabrielle, actually, one of my best friends. And she was one of the people that got stung by jellyfish. Apparently, we all fell off the banana boat into a bunch of jellyfish. I was the only one out of like the 4 people that fell off to not get stung. And it was really scary.
What if you're like Moana and you don't know because you're afraid of the water? Like you fell in and all the jellyfish made a ring around you to protect you and they were just electrocuting your friends.
Oh my God.
Like, stay away from her.
But it took me forever to get back on that banana boat because I'm weak.
You got to pull yourself up.
Because you got to pull yourself up out of the ocean.
Strength.
Yeah.
All right. Lastly, my biggest fear is love. In parentheses, it says ironic. More specifically, I'm afraid if I fall in love with someone, that person will not love me back. Not that bad, trust me.
That's a human fear, I think.
I'm kidding here, but yeah, I totally understand it. I developed this fear because of my relationship since I was a teenager. That one relationship made me a little confused about how to express love for that person. So basically, when I was in middle school, I fell in love with this girl. I confessed it to her and she told me to wait 3 years for the answer. And the foolishly idiotic me went along with it. And after 3 years of chasing her, her answer was no. I've been devastated by it and I don't know how to recover. And now I don't feel like I deserve to love someone and don't feel loved. I know that everybody around me loves me, but I don't feel it. I don't know if my heart became numb after all this time, or it's just ungrateful me. And that's it. Sorry for the long rambling. Thank you for your hard work. Sincerely from the bottom of my shitty heart, Abby. Okay, a few things. 1, your heart is not shitty. 2, fuck that girl. That's super rude.
That's just dragging someone along. What is it called? Stringing someone along. If she knew it was going to be no, she shouldn't have been like, wait 3 years. Just say no. It's
fucking cruel and it's rude. And it obviously affected you in a very negative way. I will say, like, I had my heart broken when I was young. I'm sure Robin had her heart broken when she was young. That will mend over time, and you will feel stronger, and more importantly, you will be smarter to not let something like that happen to you again in the future. And it's just, I guess it's just part of growing up. It really is. Like, sooner or later, I have so many friends who have the stories about who broke their heart growing up, and I think everyone has one like that.
Do you have one?
Yeah, of course I have one. I've told it to you before, like 3 times. You're always like, oh, I didn't know.
What's her name?
Not fucking saying it on the live show. So... anyways, we totally understand it, but, it'll get better, I promise. So
I'll kill her for you.
Okay, cool.
JK LOL, I wouldn't do that.
Thank you for sending in your fears. It's a really deep personal thing to share and we appreciate it.
That's really human fear too. The fear of like
not being loved or not being able to feel love. It's just like sometimes you've been around your friends and family for so long that some of the time, like some of the feelings that you've gotten used to is just commonplace. So you don't like actively feel that, you know? It's just sort of, you know, it's there, so you don't like technically feel it. You feel the hurt from the person that you were hoping for that just denied you. And that 3-year thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah, that's messed up.
So, anyways, thank you for writing in.
So I'm going to get into the final email of this episode. It goes, hey, Adam and Robin. Hello, Spooky Mom. Hello.
Hey, hello.
Hope y'all are having a good time. My
mom downstairs says, hello.
Clarice.
She's eating her bucket of fish heads that time.
Stop. This is my 3rd time. She's actually working downstairs.
She's working very diligently.
This is my 3rd time writing to you guys, and you're honestly the best podcast and the best people. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You've helped me get through a lot. I've been wanting to write this for a while, but because it's a bit of a sad story, I had to think if I should send it or not. So, my grandma, I call her Nani, passed away December of 2020. That's so recent.
It is
I'm
very
so
recent.
Sorry to hear that. My family lives in India and I live in Australia with my partner, and due to COVID, I couldn't visit her for the last time. My mom updated me about my grandma's situation, and during the end, as she was passing away, she kept saying how someone was coming to get her, and she didn't want them to turn any lights off because the dark would bring the someone. That's terrifying.
Really scary, yeah.
Now, my family is very Catholic, and they use prayers as therapy and as a safety thing, so my mom would sit next to my grandma and pray till she wasn't scared. A few days after, my grandma passed, and I was obviously very upset, and every time I felt lonely and far away from my family, I would smell her favorite flowers. This happened for about a few weeks till I wasn't so torn up about everything. She also visits me in my dreams with a few of my other deceased family and lets me know she's okay. I'm not a very religious person, but I like thinking of these things as a sign from the universe. It's just more comforting that way, knowing there's something bigger that's looking over us. I'm sorry for any mistakes in this email. I've tried to type it as fast as I can because I don't want to think too much about it at all, which is totally understandable.
Yep.
Thank you for being who you are. I honestly feel like we're friends, and most times I want to just text you all and show the weird stuff I see living in this small Australian town. Your spooky friend, Annette. Thank you so much, Annette, for sharing that with us. We would love to see weird stuff that you see in Australia. And we're really sorry about your loss. It's really hard to lose someone, especially someone as close as your grandma. Not physically, obviously, because she was in India. But my grandma passed away in 2022, so I totally get you there. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, that's a really difficult thing to go through, and thank you so much for sending it in. And you know, I think it's a really good example of the fact that when people have to go through stuff like that, sometimes they do get closure through things like dreams. And I know we've had so many people email us from like around the world, which is weird to say, and from different backgrounds and different religions, but this seems to be a very common thing.
Yep.
And it's really wonderful to hear because people deserve that. And I'm glad that you sort of have that. And another thing I want to say, and to you especially, but to everyone as well, is that if you feel like we're friends because you listen to the show, we are. Like, we are. You listen to our shit first and foremost, which is more than we could ever ask of anyone. We don't really ever really expect that to happen, and it's amazing that it does. So thank you so much for supporting us, and we're happy that we could in any way, shape, or form support you with what we do. So thank you for sending that in, and thank you for listening.
Yeah.
I do want to thank everyone who sent in their emails and their stories for this episode. We sincerely appreciate it. If you have a story you would like to send us, please reach out to us by emailing storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to our Facebook, which is facebook.com/scarishpodcast, and message us there. You can join the Spooky Friends group, which is the group we have set up through our Facebook page. It's really wonderful. I think we have over 1,100 members at this point. Can't keep track. It's a great community, lots of memes, but also a good place to post your story or just talk to other folks. You can join our Discord very similarly. If you go to scarish.com, there's a little scroll that goes by, a little ticker. One of them says join us in Discord. Click that. It'll give you a link and you can jump in there. And also you can submit your story through our website, scarish.com, by clicking on contact us. That form comes directly to us. You can also hit us up on Twitter, which is @ScarishPod, and Instagram, which is @ScarishPodcast. We look forward to hearing from you however you would prefer to reach out to us. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
If you'd like to donate to us, you can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $1, and at $1 you get ad-free episodes. Can't go wrong with ad-free, right? There are physical merch tiers. You can take a look at all the tiers. They go up from there. If you're not into the monthly subscription style, you can do one-time donations at ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. And all your donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup, kind of keep us going, keep us changing things.
Keep us creeping on.
Oh, shit. That's genius. And yeah, so thank you so much, everybody who's gotten us to where we are now. We're
Indeed.
so thankful.
We really do appreciate it, and I think that's just about everything we have for this episode of Storytime. So, Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.